Welcome to Chaos, Courage and Coffee, the podcast for anyone who's felt like on the outside I'm holding it together, but inside I'm struggling.
And we do it with honesty, heart, and just enough coffee to get through the day.
Hello, Vanessa.
Hi, Brett. How's it going?
I'm well, thank you. And hello to everybody listening as well.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I hope you're set up for a great day. But if not, you know what? You can always restart it. Anyway, that's not the topic of today's conversation. What I wanted to talk about is having a coffee break. Now, whether you take that literally or as a metaphor, what's a coffee break for? I've got ways I use it. Apart from the caffeine, that is, but perhaps we shouldn't go down that path.
Well, I think for me personally, and we haven't discussed this. This is a brand new topic for us. I think the caffeine in the coffee, or if you prefer tea like I do, I'm not a coffee drinker. I think the caffeine is to some degree a really good metaphor for this. What is the coffee break for? It's a chance to, I think, stop and recharge a little bit. Now, whether that's a physical break, well, it is normally. It's a physical break. I know here in Australia we have morning tea and afternoon tea or coffee breaks scheduled throughout our working day for a lot of people anyway. And it's a chance to stop work and re-energize. Whether it's a physical or mental re-energizing, I think the re-energize, reset, ready for the next block of work is really important.
Oh, it's interesting. So I moved to New Zealand many years ago. And like you, Brett, they have the morning tea and afternoon tea, which I wasn't familiar with, although my family used to have what they called 11s, which was having a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock and a biscuit, if you're lucky. And we did have like an afternoon cup of tea because we were British, so we got to drink lots of tea and cake if my granny's made one. But it's interesting. On the, okay, let's have a coffee break. I'm really poor at that. My coffee is on the go. So seriously, guys, don't listen to me about this one because I also do this with meals. Meals are like I'm eating it on the go. Being a busy mum, it was more about it's just something to get done in the day rather than all these extra benefits. So I like the idea that perhaps that's what it's supposed to be for, not the caffeine, not the liquid, but stop and take a break. As mums, taking a break is, well, virtually impossible. So it's kind of maybe very good to use it as a marker, as this is my break. Now, you might only get one sip and you might be rushing it and that's too hot, so it doesn't really work. But let me plant the seed in your mind that having a coffee is to take a break, not necessarily literally to stop, but as Brett said, it's like a reset. Use it as a reset. I've got another story which I'll share in a minute. I'll give Brett a chance to respond to that. My other story I'll come to is about a glass of wine. Again, what is it? Caffeine, alcohol? Anyway, yeah, go for it, Brett.
I think they're common crutches that we use from time to time, caffeine and alcohol. So, all right. Veterans are in a similar position. When we are busy, we're busy. And same thing, you either drink your coffee or your tea when it's really hot and you can barely drink it, or you put it aside, you do something else, you're doing work. Quite often, as you say, we're working through it. We don't always get time to stop. And then you come back to it and it's cold. And I know when we're in the field, you can't reheat these things. You either get used to drinking cold tea, cold coffee, or you don't drink it at all. You chuck it in the bush and move on. Maybe you'll get an opportunity to make another cuppa. But I think the real point is that in the regular workplace, and I think it's something that we do, that we carry over, whether it's mums, veterans, or a lot of other regular people, we carry it over. We don't necessarily take the breaks the way they're intended. We use it to get away from our desk and do something different, but we're often still working through that time. And a lot of people I know work through their lunch break as well. And I know here in Australia it's legislated that you need to have a certain amount of time to stop and eat lunch away from your desk. But a lot of people eat lunches at their desk because there's not enough hours in the day. It's not about the work you need to do. It's about how you manage yourself. And I think that's the more important thing when we talk about coffee breaks and tea breaks and afternoon, morning tea, whatever, is it's how we manage ourselves. It's that reset that we mentioned. A chance to change focus sometimes. And I find it's a really good way of doing that. When I finish this task, I'll go and have a break. It gives my brain a chance to switch out from that previous task and gets me prepared for the next task I need to do. And I think that can be important as well.
Research has shown how much energy it uses up if you keep, I'm a task hopper. So I literally like to swap from one to another because it keeps my attention and my kind of inspiration and enthusiasm going. So I know if I spent too much time on one thing. So I do what you say, and I actually bribe myself with a coffee break. It's like, right, when you get that done, you can have a coffee break. But it's interesting if we swapping out too much, apparently the switching in your brain uses up quite a lot of energy. But what we can do is use it as that reset. So switch from that task, get your coffee to signal to yourself, this is a reset. Now, this is really good if you've, depending on what emotional state you're in. So I had a situation yesterday where I got a little bit frustrated, completely my fault because I was trying to multitask, which I do all the time. These were not two tasks you can multitask. And I was like, okay, I'm recognizing I've created this situation. Okay, I've hands up, I stuffed up, but I needed to reset. So you can use the coffee. Even if you don't stop with the coffee, it's putting a switch in the brain. We are changing now. So it's a really good marker to change, not just task, but where or what your emotional state is in. Because we're trying to be in an optimal emotional state. Sometimes when we're too emotional, we can't actually do the actions we want to do. We're not in a logical state. So if you're noticing that your emotional state is not really conducive to what you're trying to get done, have a coffee break.
I, I, yeah, I understand where you're going, but I think we're confusing the language a little bit. Um, I think it's important to actually stop. And I don't think that's necessarily something that we do well, is to stop. The break is there. It's intended as a break in work or a break in this thing it's a break. That's why the term is there. And so I think part of the intent, and again, I don't think it's something that we necessarily do well, is to stop, take a breath, whether it's simply going through the motions, giving ourselves that menial, basic motor functions task of not sitting at the computer, changing what we're seeing in our environment for those 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it may be. A chance to just get up and walk to a different space, maybe speak to somebody along the way if you're working in an office environment, and come back again. That break in focus can be really, really beneficial to improving the next thing that you do. And I think that the break, that's the intent, is the break.
Yeah, all right, guys.
So I
Don't,
can't
don't
emphasize that.
Don't take a leaf out of Vanessa's book, who's already trying to shortcut this break business. I'm being real, okay, because I'm, busy mum with 4 kids. But research has shown that taking the actual break, and I think if memory serves me right, even 5 minutes is good. But they have actually shown about productivity. And of course, it's not all about productivity. As I said, it's about, emotional state. But they have shown that taking the actual break is beneficial. So the aim is to get the break, but if you fall short like I always did, don't just gloss over it and be aware that this is what you are intending to do. So the coffee isn't just for the caffeine hit. It's, to actually signify that you are going to take a break. Or it could be like me with my wine in the evening. I would get to a certain time of day and I go, right, it's time for wine. And I actually worried. I thought, oh my God, what if I become an alcoholic now because I'm turning to the wine every day? But it actually seriously signaled to my body, we've done the day, we've achieved. And it was just that sense of, oh, wow, I've made it. And I actually got to the point where I didn't need the wine. I just got the wine glass and I poured in a different liquid because it's like a habit. I had learnt the signal, wow, deep breath, I've got through the day. So it was a break as well. It was like, and a change. It was like, right, next section of the day.
Yeah, I think that trigger is really important. And you mentioned that. And it's the habit of doing this thing can be really, really powerful. And it can signal to our body and our brain when we develop the habit, this is the time of day. This is how I respond in this situation or circumstance at this time of day. So that wine glass, whatever liquid it had in it, whether it was wine, and it doesn't have to be wine, it could be some raspberry cordial. Um, you know, that holding that wine glass, that's the trigger, that's the emotion, that's the thing that says, end of the day, I can relax now. And it might be a sitting down with a cuppa in the evening, whether it's a cup of coffee, cup of tea in the evening after dinner, and for some people, or during the day. And look, I'm going to be terribly honest. I'm so prepared for my day. Mine's in the travel mug today. So I've got a big morning coming up and I'm not going to have time to just sit and enjoy my morning tea. So I've got to take it with me. We don't always get the opportunity to take that break and stop and enjoy and catch our breath. But it's about managing it when we can and trying to associate the action with the state.
I'm so glad you circled back to that because that's exactly what I was going to say. I wanted to point out how you had said holding the wine glass. Okay, it was having a physical action with it. And I don't know if you guys also caught that I said, like, I'd take a deep breath. Now, we're not going to go into breathing now, but a deep breath is actually right from the bottom, not just a like that. It's right from the bottom. The biology being that it's about the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So, no jargon in this podcast. But if you want to look it up, you can take the deep breath from the bottom because it literally is a physiological thing that will help you relax. So we got two things here. We've got a physical action because that will help you create the habit internally of I'm taking this break and what that signifies for you, plus the deep breath with it, which is also another way to help you kind of relax or pause for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I actually want to take your breath and it was something
Away.
so
Do you want to take my breath away?
no. I just want to change it up a little bit. And I think, and please forgive me, I'm not a spiritual person or not a religious person. I want to change the word, a deep breath. A deep breath can be really physical and it's really important. But I want to change the word and say, take a soul breath. And the reason I say that is because it's about letting go of all the day. It's about, especially at the end of the day, and really setting down, turning off, getting ready for nighttime, getting ready for bed, so to speak. And it's not just anybody can do that anytime. We take a deep breath and we let it go, but this is more than that.
You can also use that. Now, I'm just thinking of a story with my eldest daughter. You don't have to wait for the end of the day. Like I would get up and already I was exhausted before my day had started. And I'm like, right, that's it. Today's written off. And I helped my daughter with this one because she was going through a stressful time with work and she got up and I forget what happened, but the day went wrong and she hadn't even left home and got to work. So she thought, it's okay. I'm going to do a reset. I'm going to start my day again. So she went to the coffee shop and she bought herself a coffee and some kind of Danish. And this was her reset. Unfortunately, the Danish was yesterday's Danish and it was a bit stale or whatever. So then that was a disappointment. So then she had to do another reset. But I loved the idea because I hated it if I woke up and something went wrong, as it were, early. And I felt, oh no, that's the whole day. And now I've got to wait till tomorrow to start again. It's the same as New Year's resolutions. Don't do it at the new year because you've got a whole nother year to wait when that one's stuffed up and you've got to try again. So you can do this either, as Brett said, it's the end of the day, it's a releasing, it's a letting go, but also create a way to do a reset during the day to start, like start again, as it were, to reset, refresh. We do it with computers. Do a refresh. Turn it off, turn it on, or hit it, or whatever it is you do, and go. Come on, let's get going again. Another chance now.
I don't necessarily recommend hitting a computer, but anyway. Uh, uh, but I think that takes us full circle back to where we started, and I think that's the point of the coffee break. It is to reset, in a lot of circumstances, ready for the next part of your day. And I think we've failed to do that sometimes. I think it's important that we take this time or that time to do that reset, take that breath, change our mental whatever's going on up in here, our mental gears, if you like, ready for the next activity and ready for the next thing that we need to do.
So use it in a way that works for you, and it doesn't have to be coffee for the non-coffee drinkers. Hydrate, have a glass of water, put some cordial in it, whatever it is, and use it in a way that works for you. Like you could phone a friend. You could, if you're at work, chat to colleagues. I'm thinking of mums at home, like, gosh, how you've got these busy kids running around and you kind of want to have that break or that something and you've got no one to talk to. And boy, years and years of not having another adult to talk to, you're just like, could we just have a full on conversation? So phone a friend, do whatever works for you. We've just thrown out lots of ideas here and we've created awareness around it. So now we hand over to you to create your own coffee break in a way that's beneficial for you. Does that be fair to say, Brett?
I think that is very fair to say. So, what are some of the, I suppose, key points we need to, that when we're developing or building these coffee breaks, maybe especially for mums, because it's a little, well, I'm going to say less structured for mums. What are some of the things that they need to do to have an effective coffee break?
I think so. The first thing is we've created the awareness around it and what it might be for. So plan it like it's a legitimate thing. I used to feel it was a sneaky thing, like, oh, I'll just squeeze in another coffee. Make it a thing. All right. Then use it wisely, understand what it's for. It's to reset, it's to calm yourself, it's to refresh, start again. Um, it's to maybe have 5 minutes of actually having a break, 5 minutes of communicating with someone else because connection is so important. Understanding it's important for your body. You don't need to know all the ins and outs and all the research and everything. We've done that bit. So we're just saying now, create that awareness, have the breaks and plan them, put them into your day, schedule them, make them legit. They are real, they are important for you.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think a couple of things you said: schedule it, plan it, um, being deliberate and intentional in having these breaks is really important for a lot of people. Now, as we've already said, it's not always going to happen. Not every day works out perfectly. And sometimes you need to put it in a travel mug and take it with you. That's okay. Nobody's perfect. No day is perfect. And so do the best you can with what you've got. And if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to suggest, and I could be off the mark here, But I'm going to suggest maybe for some mums that maybe you have morning tea break with the children if they're at an age where you can do that, and you sit down and you pull out a couple of biscuits and you give them some cordial and you have your cuppa and you sit at the table and you have that break with them. It's a calm break for them as well. Now, Vanessa, you can tell me I'm wrong here, but it might be an activity that gives them a break and it calms them down for a little period of time as well. Maybe.
You have no idea sometimes the pictures in my mind when you suggest these blissful moments. And I'm there like, which world was Brett in? And I'm thinking, I'm sitting here and I'm like, kids, biscuits, drinks, spillage, arguing. I'm like, yeah, dream on, Brett.
Like I said, I could be wrong. I used to try to have breakfast with my daughter when I was at home. Obviously, during my military career, I spent a lot of time away, and so I don't know all the ins and outs. So, it's one of those things that I don't know about, but that's okay. But it comes back to something we've talked about before. What do you focus on? And we haven't discussed this in great detail. The mess can wait for later. Nobody's perfect. And yes, I know the fights and arguments can happen and the spillages and the cleanup and all those sorts of things. But it might be a way, and the reason I suggest is because it could be a way of breaking a particular cycle or a particular pattern at that day, at that time.
But I like the bit where you've said twice now, look, it's not perfect. And I just want to bring awareness back to that before we close by saying, look, yeah, it's not perfect. And even if you think, oh, wow, I've done 3 days in a row, I'm getting it. And then it goes horribly wrong again. It's not wrong. It's not stuffed up. It's just not perfect. So gloss over it, just like go, okay, didn't work today. I tried. So don't expect it to be something that sort of you get into the groove and then it keeps happening and you've got it sussed, because those expectations are going to stuff you up down the line. Just go with it. When it works and it's great, that's great. And if it doesn't, well, it didn't go today. It's all good. I'll try again.
Yeah, absolutely. Life's full of ups and downs, and we all know that, I'm sure, by now. That's why you're here listening. And so don't expect perfection. It's about trying, and where you can succeed, appreciate those moments where you can.
Yeah. So great. On that note, I might go have a coffee break.
I've already got mine.
Thanks for listening, guys. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel.
Thanks, Vanessa, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for being with us today on Chaos, Courage and Coffee. Remember, you're not alone and you don't have to figure it all out at once. What part of today's conversation stood out for you?
This podcast is about showing up in the mess, not waiting until it's all sorted out. If today helped, share it with someone else who might need it too.
And if you're navigating your own version of chaos, we'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, message us, or join the conversation.
We'll be back soon with more honest talk, less pressure, and just enough courage to get through whatever's next.
See you next time on Chaos, Courage and Coffee.